Thank you so much. McCarthy, Scalise, and Stefanik have all voted in favor of this before. You said you'd like to stop this in the Republican House, but what happens if they put it on the floor again and they pass it with the faction of your caucus that supports Ukraine aid with Democrats? Is this something you've talked to them about, and how would you plan to prevent that in the next Congress?
Well, I've been very open and honest. There's a few of us standing up here that have voted no to every single penny to go to Ukraine, and I'm one of them. I voted no from the beginning, and I'll continue to vote no. There's also been a change within our conference. There was three or four. There's just a few of us that voted no from the beginning, but each spending bill that came through, our numbers grew. So you've heard Leader McCarthy say publicly that he doesn't see very good odds for much funding for Ukraine going forward in a Republican-controlled conference. The American people are who we represent, and I can tell you right now, my district, Georgia 14, is not interested in continuing to fund a war in Ukraine and defending Ukraine's border while our border is being invaded every single day.
Congresswoman, does pulling back U.S. support for Ukraine send a poor message, not just to Putin, but also to Chairman Xi in China, who is, of course, contemplating invading Taiwan? What message would that send on the part of the United States if we were to pull back?
I believe when America invests in itself and we strengthen our border and we strengthen our military and we show the world that we're very, very focused on protecting our nation, our sovereignty, and our freedoms and our borders and the American people, we signal straight to the rest of the world. You see, the real problem that we are telling the world right now is with the withdrawal in Afghanistan is that we've tucked and run. And what we're telling the world right now by choosing to invest in a proxy war in Ukraine against Russia while ignoring other situations in other countries in the world is we're telling the world that we're more interested in a money laundering scheme, and maybe we're interested in energy, the business of energy, than we really are about security. So I believe when America invests in ourselves and we care about the American people and our tax dollars, we'll grow our strength economically. We will grow our strength at our border and not allow the Mexican cartels to control the border, sending across human trafficking and drugs that are killing the American people. But when we invest in ourselves, we're telling the rest of the world and the world leaders, we're not going to be used anymore. And the American people are sick and tired of being used.
Question on the position of leaders. You guys have a lot of leverage right now when it comes to McCarthy, especially. Is your message to leaders do not bring up Ukraine aid next year? Are you saying this is a condition for your support of their leadership?
I'm not saying it's a condition. I'm speaking on behalf of my district and what most Americans feel. I don't see a connection there at all. We're doing what we know is right, and that's what we'll continue to do.
We each only have one vote. We don't dictate what goes on in the conference. What I would hope for is regular order, and then we get away from the things that Pelosi is doing, such as attaching disaster relief for Florida to creating a disaster in Ukraine. It's just immoral and despicable for her to do that, and I would hope that our own leadership doesn't do that. And if they are going to ask us to vote on that, give us an independent, separate vote on one subject.
I saw your question in the back.
Yes. Quick question. A lot of you mentioned the fentanyl crisis that is happening, but most fentanyl comes from people crossing the border who are United States citizens, not necessarily immigrants. What is your response to that? That is something.
I would ask for where's your proof on that, because that's not what we've been shown. That's not what, when we go to the border and we're speaking with Border Patrol agents, when we're there on the ground, that is not at all what we're being told. So I'm
It comes mostly from the South.
I'm sorry, I don't see.
I have it right here. It's from the Cato Institute. So.
The Cato Institute is not the Border Patrol. There's a big difference there.
I
I'm
agree
sorry,
that
is the Cato down there securing our border and stopping illegal aliens and human trafficking and drug trafficking? I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get a direct source, and when you bring the Border Patrol in here and wanna quote that, then we may take you seriously, but we're not taking the Cato Institute seriously.
I'll be back.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're bringing this forward in a privilege resolution, which is interesting because your colleagues have done that a lot this year. So far, none of their privilege resolutions have been able to get to the floor because the committees have dealt with all of them. And of course, they voted them down because Democrats control it. My question for you, are you planning on introducing this next year when Republicans will have control of the committees and it could potentially actually see floor action?
Thank you, those are good questions. And so first of all, let's go with the first part of your question. If they choose to vote this down, that's going to tell the American people, no, you're not allowed to know what is happening with your money. The money that you work hard for every single day, the money that you follow the law and you pay your taxes to the government to trust with your money, they'll be telling them no. So that'll be a signal to the American people, and I think the American people deserve to know that. And then for next year, absolutely, I'll introduce this resolution again, but I'll also be calling for a full audit. That's what we want. We want to audit Ukraine, and that needs to happen. We voted no to send money over there, but we also are going to audit what's happening over in Ukraine, so yes. Yes.
What, Congresswoman, what is the connection between FTX and the Ukrainians? Do you suspect money was laundered, for instance, from the U.S. Treasury through Ukraine and back to dirty hands here in the U.S. through FTX or other players?
I think we're all suspecting a lot of bad things with FTX that you just mentioned. I know it's under investigation with the SEC, and I think you'll see a lot more investigations going on into that. So that's something that needs to be sorted out, investigated. You know, there needs to be a lot of subpoenas given there, and we look forward to finding out what happened there. Yes.
Do you have the support from Kevin McCarthy and the leadership for this resolution? Have you talked to them about it?
I let him know I was introducing it earlier today.
And what was his response?
I said, I'm having a press conference at 4, and he said, okay. Yeah.
I just want to follow up on the FTX thing. Do you believe that Ukraine sent money back to the Democratic Party of its federal aid dollars through FTX? Is that what you believe?
I don't know what happens, but it sure does look bad. This guy, he's got 3 letters like I do. What's his name? Sam Bankman-Fried. Yeah. So he's apparently going to file bankruptcy. He was the 2nd largest donor to Democrats this cycle. He was in charge of the cryptocurrency fund in Ukraine through the national bank there. And the question is did USAID dollars go into that fund? That's a very real question that we need to know. And I believe a lot of these documents, if they're able to hand them over, they should hand them over. Besides, what would they have to hide? Everyone deserves to know where the money is going. We definitely want to know if any U.S. taxpayer dollars went into that fund. And then after it went into the fund, did it go back into his pocket for him to donate to political candidates? And I think that those are the kind of questions that we would want to ask regardless of whatever political party it is, because that just shouldn't happen. That should never happen. And I want to give anybody else a chance to answer questions on that.
So one of the things I just wanted to, one of the things I just wanted to add to this is that we have to look at connecting the dots here. Every single person, all of my colleagues, as well as everyone in the press floor, is American taxpayers. And we deserve to know where our money is being spent and where it's being utilized. But we also have to recognize the fact that both times that Russia has actually violated the sovereignty of Ukraine, who was in office? Joe Biden. And why didn't they in 2014, when the Russians came across, declare a violation of the '94 Budapest Memorandum? That the Federation of Russia, the United States, Ukraine, and the UK and Northern Ireland is a part of as a signatory. It was a non-nuclear proliferation agreement that basically recognized their sovereignty if they got rid of their nuclear weapons. Why are we not utilizing international treaties and agreements that's been violated as a mechanism for sanctioning? Why are we continuing to allow this to grow and become some, warmongering military-industrial complex buildup that only benefits who? Not the American people. So I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked on this, but the real answer is this. Americans deserve transparency of where their money goes. That is our job as elected officials. And when I actually was on the conference floor, and my colleagues will tell you, that's one of the questions I asked the leadership. Will you commit to 100% audit of Ukrainian funds so that the American taxpayers know where their money is going? Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
I've been in Ukraine.
One more question?
Congresswoman, has your leadership promised you that there will be an investigation into the treatment of January 6th defendants next year?
Oh, that was a question I'd asked in conference, and I had asked that to Steve Scalise. I'd asked him if we could, if he would support investigations into Nancy Pelosi's handling of security at the Capitol on January 6th. I believe that one's really important. I also, in that question, I also asked him about if we can, if he would support investigations into the treatment of pre-trial January 6th defendants. That's something that's also very important. And he said that he would support it through the committees, so that each committee, the committees assigned to that would be handling it. So I look forward to talking with Jamie Comer, who will be our chairman on oversight, and talking with him about investigating that. I think I'll let Matt, you want to address that with the judiciary?
Yeah, I think hope springs eternal in the new Congress, that we'll be able to get a lot of these questions answered. You know, last time we were in the majority, Republicans did not send a single subpoena on matters that concerned us at the Department of Justice and at the FBI, and I've been told that the times they are changing.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
everybody.
you.